Welcome to the Non-League Show, episode 5. Delighted to have on former Doncaster Rovers goalkeeper Jan Budtz, also a bit famous in his time for obviously his penalty saves, shall I say, against Manchester City. Delighted to bring him on. Jan, how are we?
Not bad, yourself?
I'm good, mate.
Good.
Jan's actually my gaffer at the training centre, aren't you, at Rovers?
That's right, so I'm monitoring you, do you know what I mean now? You better do a good job.
So obviously I want to start right at the start in your career, so obviously grassroots, brought up in Denmark. Do you want to quickly explain whereabouts you were brought up in Denmark?
Yeah, so just I'm from one of the small islands in Denmark, which is Zealand. So from coast to coast, there's only an hour and a half's drive. So Copenhagen, about 20 minutes outside Copenhagen. With my family, I've got an identical twin brother. So we grew up. It was football straight away. So football's just been ingrained within our family and our little brotherhood from birth, really.
Brilliant. Do you want to quickly explain, obviously, which grassroots club you kind of started at? What age you got started in football?
Yeah, so I think we just started playing just like over here, really. When you're about 6-7 years old, you can get into a proper team, can't you? So started playing football for the local team. Absolutely loved it. Parents got involved. I can remember my mum was peeling carrots every half time, so all the lads came and had a little carrot at half time. I don't think that will happen now, but literally just played for numerous of years. Loved it, and then at some point when I was about 14-15 actually stopped playing football altogether. Didn't actually touch a football from I was 15 till I was 20, me or my twin brother. So I did some of my studying, and then after I turned 20 I started playing football again.
Oh, brilliant. I didn't know that.
No.
Was it always, so were you always in goal? Did you always play in goal, or did you actually have a spell out field?
In that, I started out field, but there was my brother, myself, and then a really good mate of ours.
Yeah.
And we always used to knock about. Now, it got a bit boring just shooting goals in an empty net. So I think I kind of got bullied into going into net at some point, and I just loved it. I think I had that bit of crazy mentality, because goalkeepers are a little bit outside the norm, aren't they? So I just went in there, loved it, and it just stuck with me since.
Brilliant. So just obviously what age did you go into men's football in Denmark?
Yeah, so as I said, I stopped playing. I didn't play football from 15 till about 20.
Right.
So 15 was obviously you're not in men's football yet, are you? So by the time I stopped, I was a man then when I got back into it. But I literally just started just for a bit of fun again, me and my brother. A bit of the story is that he then actually got a trial over here with Wycombe Wanderers after playing a couple of years. After we both got back into it, he then eventually got sold to a club in Belgium, Cercle Bruges. And after he left, he was 22, 23. I thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
So I was working as a social worker at the time. Monday 9 to 5, did night shifts, etc. And then I was playing a bit of amateur football, and then one day FC Nordsjælland, a Danish football club, knocked on the door and said, do you fancy coming down for a trial? Signed for them on only like a short-term 6 months contract, and then during that 6 months I got scouted to go and play for Rovers.
Wow. So obviously coming over to obviously England, how did that impact you, obviously? Because it's a big move, obviously, moving away from your home and stuff like that. What was that like?
A bit mental, but because I was that bit older, 24, 25, I was not a 16-year-old getting dragged away from the family. Do you know what I mean? I was a grown-up man, and I think that's what when you speak to fans and stuff like that, they forget that I actually came over fairly late in my career. Well, it was early in my career, but it was late in anyone else's career who's been involved from the youth set up and all the way through. But so I didn't have there's no strings attached in Denmark. My twin brother had left. There's no girlfriends that I had to think about, so I just packed the bag and went.
Brilliant. So it didn't really impact you that much mentally, because obviously you came over for kind of a fresh start. So do you want to quickly talk about your time at Rovers, obviously, because you spent around 2-3 years at the start, 2-3 years. Do you want to quickly explain about that first point when you obviously came to Rovers?
Yeah. So I got invited over to play on a trial, a week's trial. So I can't remember, it might have been in November 2004, went over to Doncaster, trained with them for a week. We went to Newcastle, I remember, to play a game behind closed doors. I'm sure the cops was there and other people from that era. I think there was some fairly big Newcastle names playing in that behind closed doors, but I did alright. Actually saved the penalty in that game. Went back to my club and didn't think anything of it. And then suddenly my agent just rang me and said, well, we've got Doncaster Rovers interested, they want to sign you on a 2-year deal. And I was like, alright, well, let's go for it then. So moved over. As I said, it's a bit weird because you're in a foreign country, but growing up in school, everyone in Denmark can speak English anyway, so it's not like I couldn't communicate with anyone. So I just got on with it, really. Yeah.
So obviously at your time at Rovers as well, you had obviously a bit of stern competition because obviously Andy Warrington were in the net at the time. What was it obviously like being in and out of kind of playing and then sometimes being on the bench? What was that kind of like?
Do you know what? And I know I'm going to sound like I'm not the typical footballer who's grown up and that.
Yeah.
So for me, coming over, just sitting on the bench was a big achievement. Do you know what I mean? Just being involved with professional football. And I thought, my mindset was, I've come over here and I'm like, if I'm here for 2 years or 3 years, that's it. I'll stay here for 2 or 3 years. But like, obviously Andy was Rovers legend, such a great guy. I mean, fantastic player, and off the pitch, such a nice guy. So I learned a lot from him. And obviously lucky enough to get my shot at fame, as you say, or my chance when he unfortunately got injured.
Brilliant. So we'll go on to this now actually, because this is probably massive, because obviously it were massive at the time. It were over all news outlets and everything. So obviously it were against Manchester City, won it in the League Cup, am I right?
Yeah.
Obviously he got injured, didn't he, Andy Warrington? Did he get injured? And obviously they called you up. What was that experience like?
You just mind-boggling. Like you don't really realise, do you? I'd not played a game before, so I'd only played a couple of pre-season games, and I've only been in the country for about 3 or 4 months. So when growing up in Denmark, every Saturday we would sit and watch Premier League games. Like we would sit and watch football, so I knew the teams. But playing against them, you don't actually understand how big it actually is. I mean, I love the atmosphere at Bellevue, Tuesday nights games in particular. So it was just soaking up the atmosphere. And then when that happened to Andy, you don't get to think. It's just shin pads on, get ready, you're coming on. And then you have to think about it after what's actually happened.
So obviously, if anyone don't know, which Jan came on and obviously went in net against Manchester City, and it went to penalties, didn't it?
Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, so you were the hero that day, saving 2 penalties. Were it 2 penalties that you saved?
Yeah, 2.
And obviously, I think Darius Vassell at the bar or something like that.
Yeah, put him on.
And obviously, then was it at Bellevue then as well?
Yeah, that's at Bellevue.
At home as well. It were packed on it there as well.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, crazy. Went on to a little bit of a cup run after that, and the games were just absolutely electrifying. Like the fans were unbelievable. The ground was class for football, big pitch, fans close to the pitch as well. It was mint.
Do you want to quickly explain about obviously what came after that? Because obviously being the star against a top team like Manchester City, did any sort of, I don't know what to say, fame, but did any sort of news outlets come out, reach out, or because you were all over BBC Sport?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, I literally just went up to the bar, had my post-match meal, and I went home. And I can guarantee you that 19 out of the 20 lads in the squad went to town.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of them. I just went home. I woke up and I went and bought the newspaper, the Sun. It might have been down in the training ground. I walked in and one of the guys just said, "Are you kidding me, Jan? You're all over the news."
Yeah.
So in the middle pages of the Sun, there was a big picture of me with a skinhead, and it just said, "Rovers have landed the next Schmeichel." Little did they know. But anyway. And that was it then.
Yeah.
But I still didn't really get the hype.
Yeah.
I was still, that's fine. Later on that day, after training, a taxi picked me up and took me to the ITV studio to the interviews and things like that. So, but I'm a fairly level-headed guy, down to earth. So
it must have been pretty surreal though.
Very surreal.
Did your family move over with you then?
No, just me.
So did they know about it straight away? What happened? And then
I think they didn't watch that game. My dad had been over a couple of times. My mum as well. Yeah. So they watched it back in Denmark because it was televised in Denmark, I think. So they did watch it. But yeah,
I'm not sure I understand.
Sorry, they're pretty down to earth.
Yeah.
They're pretty down to earth as well. So they're just happy for me.
Brilliant. So obviously going to move on. You had a little loan spell at Wolves. They were I think they were in the Championship at the time. Obviously, what was that loan spell? Because you weren't there too long, were you? Anyway, to be fair. But what was that like?
It was unbelievable. So we had a change in manager at Rovers. So Dave Penny left. Sean O'Driscoll came in. And he obviously had his ideas in terms of preference of players, style of play, and he just went to me. I think 4 months before the season, and in my second year, he just said, "Jan, you're not involved in my plans going forward. You can go out and get some loan experience if you want, so you can secure a contract for the following year," which I thought was decent of him because he didn't have to. He could have just kept me. So Mickey Walker at the time, the director of sport, had a contact at Wolves, which was Mick McCarthy. So from one day to the next, he just said, "Jan, do you fancy going there for a month as a backup to Matt Murray?" So within the space of like 3 days of being told I was not included in the Rovers plans, they were in League One. I went to a Championship side where obviously Wolves were at that time in the playoffs, top six. So
I bet that experience was good because obviously they were a top club, weren't they? Championship, they were a good standard, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a different level. I mean, they should really be in terms of the setup and everything at that time. They went up to the Premiership anyways, but it was just a completely different. When you get to that level, like everything around the football, it's just unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? You're getting looked after like kings. There's that much money in football now, so the top players and the top clubs they have to like look after you. But it was good. I got four or five games there. I got to play Sunderland away. I played Crystal Palace, and they're like memories that you'll keep with you until your kids and grandkids and all that.
Brilliant. So then you went over obviously to Hartlepool. You had played a lot of games there, around 40 games. Obviously, the club that obviously, would you say you played your best football at? Would you say best?
I'd probably say my first 30 odd games for Hartlepool in that first season was probably the best football I played. I mean, in terms of experience, my first season or 2 seasons for Rovers was actually my first football in men's football. So although I was 25, 26, I was probably as inexperienced as an 18-year-old lad coming through because I'm not even played. Yeah. So when I played those 2 years at Rovers and a bit at Wolves, when I got to Hartlepool, I think that first season was probably the best football I played. Yeah.
Brilliant. So obviously, who were the gaffer at the time at Hartlepool? Because obviously that is a good setup as well. Obviously they've just got back into the Football League. Was it a good setup when you were there? Yeah,
it was alright. It was a bit of a funny one, old school ground and that freezing cold. Freezing cold on a Tuesday night. But yeah, it was, God, I can't remember his name now, Wilson.
What, Gaffer?
Yeah, Gaffer.
It's not coming to me.
He'll get to me. He'll get Sheffield lad. But yeah, there was some good lads up there, some good lads. But he went then, the Gaffer. They had a change of manager again. He had his preferences. They had other young goalkeeper in that they thought they could sell for more money. So I got benched on my second season and then kind of fell out. A little bit.
So after this period, obviously, then you obviously went into non-league. Obviously, you were playing full time, and I just want to quickly ask how it affected you. Obviously, coming over. You were being a full-time footballer, and then obviously going into non-league, you got to kind of think, right, maybe I've got to try and get a job now. What was that obviously like? Did it add any sort of pressure to you knowing now I've got to try and get a full-time job?
Oh, massively. Of course, at that time I had 2 kids. The problem was that I'd not really established any connections with anyone over here. I'd only been here like 4 years, so I had an agent from Denmark who I then got rid of like kind of halfway through my time in Hartlepool. So by the time I finished Hartlepool, I didn't really have an agent. So obviously I dropped from League One Hartlepool down to Eastwood Town, which was probably 6 or 7, 8 leagues below. I did have some offers to go and join Dave Penny at Oldham as a second choice after Hartlepool, but I just had a newborn, so I had to move back to Doncaster, and I thought I need to find something closer to home where I don't need to travel. But nothing came up. But I'm one of them. It's not. You just have to get on with it, don't you?
Yeah.
Like if you don't get this and you're only getting this, then you have to adapt. And like there's no point in sulking or anything like that. It's life, isn't it? You need to earn your money. You need to feed your kids. So it's just get on with it. And then obviously the non-league journey has been ever since back in 2010, 2011.
Did you come back? You came back and worked for Rovers, didn't you? Was that point though?
Yeah. So that was a couple of years later.
Right.
So I went. My background is social work from Denmark. Right. So I've got a degree in social work.
Yeah.
So I went to after Hartlepool actually a year later. I went to Doncaster College to do some. Yeah, not many people know this actually. Yeah. I did a bit of upskilling my studies and doing like kind of my degree from Denmark, trying to transfer it here. So I thought I can use some of my skills and experience from Denmark. So the job I went into with Rovers, it was called Doncaster Rovers Foundation. It's Club Doncaster Foundation now. It was like kind of social work, like engaging like young people taken away in residentials and things like that. Brilliant.
So just quickly going on to non-league, you spent a bit of time at Eastwood, is it? And then you had a long period of time at Gainsborough.
Yeah.
Gainsborough and Stalybridge as well.
Yeah.
Obviously you played a lot of games for them two clubs. Do you want to quickly explain about your time at them two clubs? Obviously how different it was playing pro.
Yeah. Well, Stalybridge was the first club after Eastwood. A very good mate of mine, Tim Ryan, was assistant manager there at the time with Jim Harvey, who's been managing Chester, very good manager. So we had a chat and he just said, I'll get you across to Stalybridge. They were full-time set-up.
Oh, were they full-time?
Full-time set-up. So I mean, it's crazy to look back at now, and I wouldn't want to do it now, but we were driving across to Stalybridge nearly every day on a non-league wage, which was not great.
Jeez.
But that lasted for about 2 years, Stalybridge. I mean, we had a cracking car school and all that. Maybe that's half of why I did it, but played some good football. We nearly got promoted 1 year, and then after that, I thought it's too much travel. Spoke to the guys at Gainsborough and got in there, and then stayed with them for 3 or 4 seasons, I think.
Was Gainsborough part-time? Yeah.
Gainsborough, ever since Stalybridge, it's only been part-time throughout like my time at Gainsborough, Buxton, Rossington, wherever I've been since.
I can't believe still at Stalybridge were full-time.
It was only they only played. It was good. Jim Harvey was great at getting the young players through the systems and maturing them at an early age. Yeah. So they had probably, I mean, I was a dinosaur by then at the age of like 28, 29. It was all 18, 19-year-olds getting not a lot of money, but just happy to play football. Yeah. So it worked really well, to be fair.
So obviously going on to Gainsborough, a bit more local, would you say that you obviously preferred that over to Stalybridge just because it was a bit more local, you were closer to home? And obviously you played a lot of games there as well. Yeah. Would you say you preferred your time at Gainsborough over Stalybridge?
Football-wise, probably similar.
Yeah.
Travel, logistics, being closer to home, and with the work I had then here at Club Doncaster Foundation, they those two just married up better.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Brilliant. So obviously, then you went obviously to Buxton and obviously now Rossington as well. I just want to quickly move on from obviously your playing career. I want to move on and ask you about obviously your opinion on the non-league scene now. Obviously there's a lot of teams. Obviously you've got a close connection with Ben, who's at Rossington, played a lot of games at Rossington a few years ago, still there now.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you quickly about the non-league scene now. Obviously you've got the likes of Armthorpe, Rossington, Thorn, Gainsborough, Frickley. Obviously there's a lot of money being put into football now, especially around South Yorkshire. I just want to ask your opinion on the non-league scene at the minute.
Brilliant. I mean, I'm obviously closely linked to Rossington. I'm currently signed on with Rossington for this year, this upcoming season. But I want all the local teams to do well. Like as we all banter, don't we? Like, come on, Armthorpe. We don't want them to get relegated. But come on, if you look at it as a neutral, and I'm a neutral as well. I love football. I want all the local teams to do well, and I think it's brilliant to have that local rivalry as well, isn't it? Yeah. It would actually be class if they're all in the same league.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. That
would like a Boxing Day fixture. Yeah. I know Rossington play Armthorpe, but if you could get Thorn up or some of the other teams in similar leagues, that'd be class.
Do you reckon it's much different? Obviously, I know that you didn't obviously play at that sort of level when you dropped into non-league. Obviously, playing at like when you did play at Rosington, how would you kind of compare playing at Rosington to playing at the likes of Gainsborough back then, or is it a lot different standard?
Yeah, it's obviously as you just allude to there. There's more money being put into maybe the higher the Conference North teams, etc. So, but in terms of the football, I've always been like, it doesn't matter whether I'm sat in the changing room at Molineux playing for Wolves, or whether I'm sat away against Blythe or somewhere like that on a Tuesday night. It doesn't matter. When you cross that white line, it's football, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think you need to have that mentality anyways as a footballer. Like, you can have sorry for my language, a shitty changing room on a Tuesday night somewhere 100 miles away, or you can sit in a comfy leather seat with Red Bulls and all the pre-drinks and snacks and that. When you cross that white line, it's a game of football, isn't it? So for me, I've never been like, oh, it's only this level or it's that level. It's always been like, it's a job, it's a game of football, and just get on and do your job.
So I just want to ask you some predictions actually. Obviously Rosington have recruited very well. Obviously Armthorpe have as well. And Thorn are doing well as well pre-season. They're all doing well. I just want to ask quickly a prediction on obviously how far you think yourself and Rosington will go this season. Obviously a brilliant season last season, getting the playoffs. I think they can maybe do one better this year.
I think if I could predict how it's gonna go and make a lot of money, I hope that we will do well. They've got a lot of new players, but I think they've got the right balance now, the right players in, some experience and some youth, some energy in there. So, but it's one of them. It's anyone's game, isn't it? You can have a team that spend a lot of money and not do well, and a team that's not spending a lot of money. So it's a great setup there. It's very football focused. It is a family club, and it's a great place to be around, basically.
It's a very young squad as well, isn't it? It worked well last year. Very young.
Yeah,
squad.
it worked well. There's a couple of few more experienced guys coming into it this season, which hopefully with that bit of it's a fine margins, isn't it? At the end of the season, there might be 2 or 3 points. So it's where you drop those points throughout the season or gain them. So, but I hope they'll do well. I hope Armthorpe will do well. Thorn, I hope they'll all do well.
Do you think they'll get up this season, Thorn? Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully. It'd be good. And then Ross will go up as well. And then
it'd be good to have them all in the same league playing each other.
It would be good. It'd be good for the fans. Yeah. It'd be good for the fans. It might attract more people to the non-league football. Get more people involved. So,
and then more people through the gate as well, innit?
Exactly.
So we're going to do something a bit different now. So we've got some quick fire questions for you.
Yeah.
But we've got 3 different quick fire questions. We'll put out some questions. Some people have asked some questions to yourself.
Yeah.
But we're going to quickly go on to obviously some stories that you've got in non-league. So we're going to try and make them quick fire, but I know that there'll be a story behind every single one. So we're going to quickly ask best pitch you've played on.
Best pitch. There's 2 actually. There's Molineux, which was an unbelievable pitch. When you say pitch, do you actually mean the playing surface, or do you mean the ground?
We'll go ground for now.
All right.
We'll go ground, then we'll go pitch.
Okay, so ground is Molineux.
Yeah.
I know I should really say Bellevue back in the days, but it is. I think it must be Molineux. Unbelievable ground.
Has it changed much from what it is now? Do you think?
I went back last year to play in a charity game, Legends game. Although I'm far from a legend, but I think they needed a keeper. So I went back, and it's just exactly the same feeling as when I played. Honestly, when we walked onto that pitch. Back in the days, there was probably 35,000. I think there's about 10 people sat watching. Yeah. But it was the same feeling. Honestly, the class ground.
Brilliant. Yeah. Next one, I know you're saying that there were a lot of car school and stuff like that. Best car school story.
There's that many I can tell, but they're literally just that you have to beep everything out. I can tell you who the best car school is. My best car school. Well, it must. There's a lot of them as well. Buxton was a class car school.
Was it?
We had Tim Ryan, Ricky Ravenhill, Liam Hardy, who now plays for Worksop, but I was at Buxton with them, and then Jamie Green, who plays for Rossington there.
So you all travelled together from Donny?
So we travelled from Donny to Buxton. So there was And there was never a dull moment. Never a dull moment. It was very, very loud. I tried to stay away of it. I stay away. They gave me 3 strikes, so they're laughing at my Danish banter.
Yeah.
They didn't get on with my Danish banter. So in the season, I had 3 strikes.
Yeah.
And once I've used my 3rd strike, I'm not allowed to tell any jokes because my banter was that bad.
Obviously, Jamie Green's at Rosso now as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's brilliant. Now, obviously, did you have much car school when you were at the likes of Wolves and stuff like that? Because I bet that was a bit more difficult, wasn't it?
No, do you know what? At Wolves, and this is how laid back I am.
Yeah.
At Wolves, when I came over, I bought a car from our Doncaster Rovers goalie coach called Barry Richardson.
Yeah.
It was a big Vauxhall Signum, which is a bit like a massive thing. Looks a bit like a hearse.
Yeah.
So I'm driving that car. That's fine. Had it for 4 years, but then I've gone loan to Wolves. So my first day at the training ground, I drive down into the training complex, and it's literally just Bentley, Porsche, BMW, Merc, and then it's my silver Vauxhall Signum just parked there.
I can imagine that. So I'm going to go on to our next one. We're meant to be quick fire, but we're waffling, aren't we? But
It's alright.
We'll say best gaffer you've played under. It's a bit of a tricky one because obviously you played under that many. But you say gaffer as in probably who taught you the most.
It's difficult. I think if I stayed at Donny under Sean O'Driscoll, he'd probably would have taught me the most, like football wise. The couple of months I had with him, he was an unbelievable. His technical mind was just something. Different grade. I think part of the new school manager, where the old school I saw it as Dave Penny, the old school players and all that. When he came in, it all kind of changed. The whole atmosphere changed on the training ground. Mick McCarthy, unbelievable.
Was that who were at Wolves when you were there?
Yeah, unbelievable manager. On the pitch, tactical meetings, you could hear pin drop. The respect from him, from the players' point of view, was crazy.
Oh.
But also, he'd have a laugh with you. I know I'm waffling on. My first away trip with the players, I was sat with my MacBook, and it was a 15-inch MacBook, and it came up on Mick McCarthy's phone saying Jan Budtz's 15-inch, and he went onto the speaker on the bus and said, "Just welcome Jan for his first away trips with us guys. He's got a 15-inch." Like he was a lad, and all the lads loved him, but they also had the utmost respect for him. Yeah,
brilliant. I didn't know you played under Mick McCarthy at Wolves.
Yeah, what a guy.
He was there for a while, wasn't he, as well? To be fair.
Yeah, brilliant. He was. What a guy.
I know this will be another tricky one to keep PG, but obviously best story on a night out.
Yeah, that is, you can't get any PG stories there. Nah, players are just when you play, especially professional players, when you play and you try and conduct yourself throughout the season, and especially now, you can't go out and drink and do things, can you? So I think on nights out, that's when players just go mental, don't they? Well, nights out, some of the best nights are probably Newcastle is a great night out. Had a few nights up there with Rovers and with Hartlepool.
What team would you kind of say that you had that always wanted to, that you had the most nights out with?
When I first came over to Rovers,
were they out every night? Would you say every Saturday?
Every Saturday. Well, and try every Wednesday was off, so it was every Tuesday night a walkabout.
Really?
Every Tuesday night walkabout, but it was every Thursday as well. For some players, it was every Friday, it was every Saturday, it was every Sunday.
You wouldn't get away with that now, would you?
No chance. No chance.
Wow.
But around that time, the team was still performing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're still performing. So looking back 30 odd years, the lads would sit and have a fag at half time or have a beer before the game. Do you know what I mean? Everything's just changed now.
We're going to go on about best players you played with in your career. Obviously, on to the next set now. We've got
probably loads
the best player you've played with in each position. I know it's going to be a bit difficult. Obviously, you've been working with them week in, week out. Do you want to quickly talk about the best goalkeepers you've played with?
Yeah. So I think in terms of handling, best goalkeeper, Matt Murray, unbelievable hands, volleys from about 3 or 4 yards out, on great hands. I'd say best kicking for me, who I've played with, Wayne Hennessy, again at Wolves. He was a young lad. trained with him a month, I think. Then he went on loan out to Stock, but he'd literally just, the ball come back to him, it's left or right foot, it didn't matter. He could just kick the same with either foot, which is something I've always admired, because I'm old school keeper. If it comes to my left foot, it's in row set, or I miss it. So so I'd say
you wouldn't think that, would you? To be fair, because obviously a lot of managers now want their goalkeepers to play, don't they, on the floor, and want to try and ping them here and there. But like you said, I didn't think Wayne Hennessy were like, they don't come across as good with his feet, but I bet back then he were very good when he was
that's what I mean. If you look at him now, I mean, you probably won't put him in the same bracket as Ederson or Alisson and all them, because they're just ridiculous with their feet, aren't they?
Yeah.
But as you said, back then he might have not passed it around, but he could still take it to his weak foot and then do a 30-yard or two. Do you know what I mean? To left wing on the spot, where probably not many could do that at that time.
Brilliant. So I'm surprised at that, because he's doing very well at the minute anyway, Hennessy, with Wales and stuff, and he's still playing, and he's going on a bit now, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he, like with any keeper, if you keep injury free as well, and it's just, as a keeper, it's just experience. Every day you're going to training, because every game you play every year, it's just more and more experience for you. So yeah, he's doing well.
Brilliant. Defender, obviously you've probably played in front of behind some brilliant defenders, full-back, centre-half, but we'll just go overall, probably the most defender that you had the most confidence in to like deal with most situations.
Oh yeah. Do you know what? I not just because he's my mate, but I used to love playing with Tim Ryan as a left back. I used to love it. He was just so aggressive. Sometimes maybe a little bit too aggressive, but he'd get the job done. Do you know what I mean?
Does come across as quite an hard man, doesn't he?
He's very, very soft inside. You know what I mean? But he's a hard man. But he'd be one of them. Like the first ball coming in, he'd go. Like, do you know what I mean? He'd go. He might not hit the ball, but he hit the striker's head. Do you know what I mean? He'd headbutt him in the head. So he'd know.
35 minutes, like.
Go on.
35 minutes. We'll keep going. But like I said, I'm surprised you went over Jamie Green. Won't be happy that you've gone Tim Ryan over him.
I think different levels. And Greeny knows that. Greeny knows that.
Did you play with Greeny just at Buxton?
Yeah. Greeny, very, very, very good defender, but obviously Tim I played with at League One. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Brilliant. So we'll go midfielder now. So a bit of a difficult one, because I bet there's so many midfielders that you played with. But who would you say that maybe technically, because obviously there's two types of midfield as well. There's like a ratter and maybe someone that gets hold of the ball and likes to play. So I bet it's a bit of a difficult.
Yeah, well, let's put James Cobbinger as a midfield or like a winger. Do you know that? Unbelievable. But like obviously in games he's achieved so much. But for me, and for some of the lads who used to play with him back in those early days, it was like on a Friday training session. That's obviously always a light session. We'd always do like a little bit of a five-a-side, close pitch, goal off. I mean, he'd literally just run rings around player like the opposition, like 5 or 6 players around him all the time, and they couldn't get the ball away from him. Unbelievable technical.
Did you see
abilities.
When you were playing with him? Did you think that he'd play as long as he did, like up to his 39?
No, but he's probably not, because you don't really see that with anyone, do you?
Yeah.
But he had the ability, and he's looked after himself. He has looked after his body, and that he's conducted himself well. So, like, crazy career.
One of the best players you played with, you'd say?
Crazy. Yeah, probably be one of them. Yeah. Although he was fairly early in his career as well when I played with him. So do you know what I mean? So you forget that I used to play 50 years ago.
Yeah. Right, we'll go attacker now. Attacker.
Let's go for the best finisher that I played with.
Yeah.
So there's 2 that spring to mind. One, Paul Heffernan.
Oh yeah.
Unbelievable finisher. In the box, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get the ball. He didn't even have to look up. He just knew where the goal was, and he had that sweet, just like finish. He literally just like pull the leg back, bang, bottom corner, and then tell you who could finish. Jay Bothroyd from Wolves.
Yeah.
He went to, I can't remember, we went to Italy, I think, and played. He had a left foot, and he could just literally, I think he broke my wrist one training. He could hit the ball. Great finisher.
Was obviously you've took a lot of like to do finishing with some strikers and that all the time, and I bet you probably gather how good they are at finishing, don't you? Like when you go and do like some finishing with them or something like that.
There's some of them when you come up against them, you kind of just know that you're picking the ball out of the back of the net.
Yeah.
You don't even have to try. You just try and save the next three, let them in, and then.
Yeah. Right. So I've got some questions from some people who have sent some in.
Okay.
Some funny ones, to be fair. So I'm just going to send. Right, I've got them here. So, first one. Do you see yourself working with Rovers for the next 10 years?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've been involved with them since 2013. From 2013 till a couple of years ago in one aspect, like the foundation, doing some youth work. I'm now heading up the development centre or the Doncaster Rovers training centre, so hopefully still be involved with that. Do you know what I mean? I know it's really cringe. I always say I see myself as a Donny lad, but
Yeah.
I genuinely do. Honestly,
Yeah.
I genuinely do. I love all the people here. I love the city, so yeah, why not?
Brilliant. Next one, Bailey Conway. No Masher, don't you?
Yeah.
He said, "What football boot did you wear? What was your favourite football boot to wear?"
Football boot. I was when I played back in Denmark. It was the Adidas Copa Mundial.
Were you an Adidas?
Adidas for soft ground Copa Mundial. For hard ground, it would be the World Cup. The Adidas World Cup, and then just put the longest studs on you could get on, so you can try and hurt the strikers.
So, did you ever get into a Nike kind of guy? No.
No, do you know what? Then I got a bit more adventurous when all these colour boots came in. I got the white Adidas Predators, the Beckham ones.
Yeah.
But I turned up to training, played in them once, got rinsed, and then they went back in the cupboard again. Back to black boots.
Next one. Do you see yourself ever getting into managing or coaching full time?
Managing, never.
Do you not think?
Never ever.
Why is that?
So, and coaching, maybe. I do some coaching now with the goalkeepers. It's not my. I love being a manager. I love managing a team, but not a football team. I love managing other projects.
Yeah.
But I've got that in me. And maybe from the football, stood barking orders at defenders and whatever. But I wouldn't manage a football team. I've watched very little football away from home. I watched the women last night. That was brilliant. And I watched some Champions League. But I wouldn't just sit down and watch a football game.
Would you say like you like your time away from football after you play it as well, like doing other stuff? You're not just all football.
No, I'd be like that.
Really?
Maybe because I had that big break in Denmark 5-6 years, but I didn't play any football. It's not just been part of me ingrained all the time. I've had different things. I've experienced different jobs that any other like professional footballer would have had. So, but no, I would never manage a football team.
Really? Yeah. Interesting. Next one, lowest point in football.
Lowest point.
Interesting.
I think for any like, if you've been in a professional game or even non-league game, it's the end of the season when you know that you're not either wanted by the club or they've been relegated, and you need to sort out. Well, I need to sort out my next year. So lowest point could be at the end of every season, especially non-league if you've not got a contract and you need to kind of find somewhere else to play.
Yeah.
For some. It depends on what levels you're at non-league. Some non-league club, there's a lot of money, isn't there, in just below your league tiers now. But yeah, some non-league players, it's their livelihood, isn't it? Yeah. It's money that they need to like feed their families and things like that. So lowest point for me. Sorry, I was waffling on now. Hartlepool was probably a low one.
Really?
Like dropping from league down to like non-league, like, but that low down in non-league, that was probably. Well, I'll get through it.
Yeah. Next one, most memorable moment. I know what this is going to be, but could you try and pick out another one? So obviously, probably the most memorable would probably be.
Well, Rossington's win over. No. Memorable, yeah. Sunderland away when Roy Keane was manager. I came on at half time.
Stadium of Light.
Stadium of Light, playing for Wolves. Managed to keep a clean sheet that game. Crazy. 40,000 mental fans, Sunderland fans. Yeah, unbelievable.
But did you ever get a chance to speak to Roy Keane?
Yeah, we had no, but I didn't get a chance to speak to him. But he's a legend, though, isn't he? Yeah.
I can't believe you played at Stadium of Light as well. That was probably in what league were they in? Championship then?
Yeah, top. Yeah, Wolves were about 5th or 4th in the Championship.
Was it packed as well?
Yeah, packed.
Oh, I can't believe you played in front of 40,000. I bet that's a bit daunting. I bet when you look back though and think of them moments, you think, bloody hell. Like, do you know what I mean?
When you look back, crazy to think. But as I just said earlier in the interview, like whether I've played at that level, that standard, at that level, or lower level, it's a game of football. I think I've always seen it as that. It's a game of football. I love playing football, but it's like it brings you a certain kind of income. So it's been a job. It's a job, isn't it?
Yeah, brilliant. So that's all the questions we've got. I just want to obviously quickly say future aspirations. Obviously working with Rovers now. We're heading up the training centre. Enjoying that?
Yeah, loving it. It's just great. It's just great to have that relationship with being part of the football club. Do you know what I mean? I think we're all trying to keep our talent local. We don't want them to go elsewhere. So hopefully, being part of the training centre, we can get players in at any level from under 6 to under 15, 16, and try and teach them things that the academy is teaching, the ethos of the club, keep them involved, and hopefully produce first team players. That's
probably one thing that probably the club's never really had, is it really is like obviously the training centre having such a close relationship with the academy, and obviously as well like probably doing similar stuff, so like, obviously when players are doing well they get a chance, do you know what I mean? So it's good having that close relationship in it. Obviously that's come on a bit more, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. I think that there's a lot of offers out there, and don't get me wrong, like I'd always be an advocate for our training centre, but some parents might prefer to have their child out playing football 7 nights a week, where we're offering a service. We've not got a games programme, but we believe in what we deliver, and we are linked directly with the academy, so they've got a faith in that we can produce like the upcoming players. And if you look at some of the younger pre-academy groups now, I'd say more than 2/3 of all the pre-academy players now have come through the training centre. So it does work. It's set up to produce players at a young age. You involved yourself. You involved yourself training like the under 6s. You'll have 5-year-olds, but them, just giving them that kind of knowledge of the game and kind of the ethos of Doncaster Rovers, in a couple of years' time, 3 or 4 years' time, they hopefully will sign for the academy.
Brilliant. So I appreciate you coming on today, Jan. Do you know what I mean?
No problem.
You're obviously busy with the camps and stuff in the summer. So yeah, I know that you're busy, but I appreciate you coming on, mate. Enjoyed the chat there. We've waffled on, haven't we? But like I said, I've enjoyed the chat. Some interesting stories. I didn't know you played under Mick McCarthy and stuff like that. I bet that were some good experience. So, so I do appreciate you coming on. Next week, hopefully, I have Paul Green on. Hopefully, I know I'm going to try and get him on. He's coming on. Paul Green on next week. Appreciate again, Jan, your time, mate. Don't forget to obviously like, subscribe to the channel. Obviously more content coming on. Thanks again, Jan. I probably said thanks about 4 times, but stay tuned for the next episode coming out next week, which is the finale. So stay tuned. Cheers. Okay, I'll start waffling at cheers, mate.
Waffle!
I hate it, mate, sometimes. You say stuff like loads and then you start stuttering.
Yeah, I know.